A lot of people I've been hearing in my audience, they have very similar stories to Julie's or to a lot of the people that you mentioned. And they say, well, somebody out there is already doing what I want to do, or there's already a teacher providing lesson plans, or there's already, a speech language pathologist providing lesson plans. So what would you say to somebody who is kind of hearing these stories and feeling inspired, but there's already kind of somebody out there doing what they want to do?
Well, I want to unpack this in a variety of different ways. That would say the first company that came out with socks is the only company that has ever produced socks ever since. Or, and that, of course, that seems ridiculous when we say that out loud, but that's the same logical thinking along the same. Well, somebody's already doing it, so I therefore shouldn't. No, listen. This in the bakery business, we're all making pies. There's plenty for everybody. And I share that in jest, but I'm also serious because the fact of the matter is that there's a reason why people follow you, buy from you currently. And we want to double down on the people who know, like, and trust us. This is about a relationship. And the fact of the matter is business, period, is about relationships. And when we can show up naturally, want to do more business with those who have shown up for them in a big way. And so this is why this is an opportunity. If you've already got an established business, you're already showing up and serving those people. Now it's about extending that further and giving them an opportunity to continue to serve you. That's number one. Number two is that the real magic, if you really want to drill down to the nitty-gritty and identify the magic of how you really grow, it's about becoming known for helping people with a specific problem, challenge, or helping them master a specific set of skills. And so at the end of the day, you may start off with a handful of members as part of your founding membership. I think of Jennifer as an example. She started, Jennifer Chamberlain, she started with about 30 members in her membership. She was teaching women over 50 how to paint for the very first time. And it wasn't a huge launch. She didn't have a massive audience by any means. She had this teeny tiny audience, 30 founding members. Well, after year one, that had grown to about 100 members. After year two, that had grown to about 250 members. And then in year three, it exploded. And she grew to more than 2,000 plus members. And the reason was because she just kept on loving on her people, serving them, helping them, and helping them experience progress. And as a result of that, she had the greatest marketing asset any of us can have, which are the stories of progress. And that, at the end of the day, is what people are buying. They're buying the transformation of going from where they are to where they want to be. And it's about serving people and helping people experience that progress. And when we do, we stand out head and shoulders above the rest, because it's not about having the same thing. People don't see it as an apples to apples comparison. Now it's an apples to oranges comparison, because people see you as the one who consistently gets results. So at the end of the day, when you want to think about like, there's all these other people in the marketplace, the reality of it is that number one, people who are already doing business with you want to do more business with you. Number two is that there's an opportunity to become known for getting a result. And that is by just doubling down and loving on our people and using the stories of progress as our greatest marketing asset. And from that point forward, that's where things begin to really grow, because you stand out above all of the competition because you're the person that gets results. Oh, Michelle, sorry, you're on mute.
Sorry. So yeah, that's such a good reminder that everybody kind of serves and shows up a little bit differently. So thank you so much for that. So a lot of my audience is just getting started. So they're either launching their business or they have recently launched, and they're kind of struggling to find an audience, and they want to launch, but they don't even have that tiny audience yet. They're still kind of setting up those early steps. So what advice would you give to somebody who is really just getting started in growing an audience?
Yeah, well, first things first is I would really get clear on a few key things. One is who you serve, and be specific about that. Perfect example, like early in my career, I used to target all entrepreneurs who wanted to improve their marketing. Well, that's like, it's a gigantic messy, noisy audience that I'm never going to really make any meaningful difference. And one of my early mentors said to me, Stu, you've been serving membership site owners for decades. Like, why don't you focus in on that? And initially I was resistant. I was like, no, there's not a market big enough. Like, no, and I was resistant to it. But I'm like, okay, he's got way more experience in business and life than I do. I'm just going to open myself up to that possibility. And the moment that I started leaning into who specifically I serve and what specifically I helped them with, that's the second piece. It was instantaneous in terms of the reaction, because now I was solving a specific problem for a specific person. And now I became known as the go-to person. So for example, like Michelle, like let's say you've got a knee problem and you had two choices. You could go see your general doctor or a knee specialist. Who would you rather see?
Definitely the specialist.
The specialist. Okay. Let's say your basement is flooded. Who would you rather contact? A general contractor or somebody who specializes in water restoration and repair?
Specialist.
The specialist again, right? Because they're known for that specific problem. And we get so scared as business owners to narrow in because we fear, and I experienced it too, we fear that it's not going to be enough people. We want to help everybody. But the truth of the matter is when you zero in on a specific type of person who has a specific type of problem, it becomes so much easier to actually attract those people. Because, for example, instead of helping all parents, maybe you help parents with newborns. And what that does instantly, just that one tweak, anybody who hears what you do is immediately thinking of friends, family, or anybody in their network who has just had a baby, because now you help a specific person. But if you're trying to help all parents, well, parents with newborns are experiencing completely different challenges than parents with teenagers. The second big piece of advice that I would give when it comes to beginning to attract your audience is get clear on the transformation. And the way in which you do that is you create contrast between what is their world like now and what will their world be like after working with you, and contrasting those two things side by side. They'll go from confused to clear. They'll go from pain to pain-free. They'll go from sad to happy. They'll go from, feeling a sense of trauma to feeling a sense of joy. Like, what is that contrast? And try as much as possible to distill that contrast down into as few words as possible, because then you need to get in front of audiences. And the best way to do that is, number one, is to start working with somebody. Like I started working with people for free that were my target market so that I could have that story that I was talking about earlier. And when you've got that story, you then want to share what created that transformation in as many places as possible. So the focus is then about getting in front of other audiences. And the beauty of the internet is that there are many, many people who are already in front of your target audience right now, whether that's on Instagram or YouTube or Facebook groups or Facebook pages, or they may have their own email list. They may have blogs. They may have all these things that they are already in front of the audience. And the magic is, it's about identifying how could you be of value to their audience? And I'll give you an example. So my wife has started a luxury Airbnb business. We have a luxury Airbnb property, which you can see on Instagram if you go to Dover Lake House. The point of the matter is she's phenomenal at it. She gets 5-star reviews, rebookings. She gets incredible referrals. And we charge 3 times the average nightly rate for our area, because it's so many people are wanting to come back and repeat booking. So we have fewer and fewer availability each and every year. So I said to Amy, you should share this. Like, this is amazing. Like, there's other Airbnb owners that would love to learn how to get these reviews and rebookings and charge premium prices. And she said, you think? She's like, but I don't have an audience. Like, she hasn't been building an audience for this. So I shared with her what I'm sharing with you. So we went on and we did a quick little check on Facebook, and we searched for short-term rentals, Airbnb. We found a bunch of groups. went into the groups and I started scanning. And almost immediately, I saw all kinds of questions, common questions that are coming up that are not being answered. And these questions in this case were about like, what kind of linens do you provide? Do you provide white linens or colored linens? What about like if they've got kids? And all these questions about towels and linens and all this kind of stuff. And I shared this with Amy. And she's like, yeah, but that's common sense. And I was like, whoa. I'm like, that's common sense to you. That's not common sense because these questions keep coming up. So she could develop a quick little 15-minute presentation, sharing her best tips, tricks, and advice on how to select the right types of linens and all that kind of stuff. And she could go to that Facebook group owner and say, hey, I see these questions coming up a lot. I'd be happy to share best practices. This is how you get in front of other people's audiences. You look for the gaps and you create a little presentation that serves that audience. And then you begin building your audience from delivering those types of presentations. So don't overthink it. Don't overanalyze it. Keep it simple and keep moving forward.
Awesome. I love that. And I'm so excited for the free workshop coming up. I hope that everyone listening signs up. I cannot wait. So thank you so much for taking this time to share your knowledge with my audience. Thank you, Stu.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I'm pumped for everybody. You know, it's a free workshop. We host this one time a year. And if you're inspired about the possibility, but maybe your idea is a little bit fuzzy, I want you to come and join us because by the end of it, you'll be clear, you'll have a plan. And in fact, in many cases, people who are in the same position have actually launched their memberships during the free workshop. Like imagine that, like being able to come in with a fuzzy idea. And by the end, you've launched it and are generating recurring revenue during the free workshop. That's possible. It all starts this Thursday. Come and join us. I can't wait to see everybody there.
All right. Thank you so much. I'll see everyone there.
Bye-bye.